Now, no transformation is complete without investing in talent. Our goal is to ensure that the next generation is equipped with the skills needed for the green and digital economy. Through enhanced training, upskilling initiatives, and educational reforms, we are building a workforce that is ready to lead Malaysia into the next era of growth. Continuing our discussion on creating a sustainable talent ecosystem within Malaysia, I'd like to welcome Professor Tan Sri Dr. Noorul Ainur Muhammad Noor, Chairman of UCYP University of Pahang, to be the moderator of this session. I would also like to invite and introduce our speakers for this session. First and foremost, Mr. Chandran Nair, founder and CEO of the Global Institute for Tomorrow, or GIF. Datuk Wira Shahul Dawood, Chief Executive of HRD Corp. Dr. Logendra Stanley, Ponniah, Head of School, School of Education, Taylor's University. And Dr. Muhammed Abdul Khalid, Research Fellow at Institute of Malaysian and International Studies, IKMAS, UKM, and Fellow at Paris School of Economics. Let's give them a big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. This session is going to be meletops. Watch it, guys. So, the question is, are we ready to provide the appropriate talents for the investors establishing in Malaysia now? So, basically, I just want to listen to them, and they have a focus area each, and from there they will elaborate. So, it's just like an open-ended question, okay, for the four of them. So, the Meletops team, number one goes to Login, Dr. Login. Yeah. Now, talk about talent and education. Your views on this.
Okay, talent, is it on? Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, or almost evening. Thank you for having me here. The problem with education is this. I teach in Taylor's. So one of the things I tell my students is this. First day of class, I teach philosophy and curriculum as my main subject at the master's level. So the first thing I tell my students is this. If you leave my class at the end of the semester and you know what to do exactly, I have failed my job. Because in education, life is not so straightforward. You know, everyone talks about how great Finland is, you know, one of the best education system in the world. They have policies where only master's graduate can teach, and they have no international schools and private schools are allowed. The whole country comes together in public school system. After investigating a lot of data, you know what is the most prevalent data why Finnish education is so great? They have a sub-clause in their policy. The policy can be only altered once in 10 years. So it's not about having great people, it's also having great policies. So taking from there, I would like to talk, since so many of you all had a lot of issues about AI, so I will take a leave about how AI and employability and subsequently the infrastructure will come together. Do you know there is documented proof that Socrates actually complained about written textbooks, because those days they transcribed their books. To him, knowledge must be first-hand. If you do not meditate or realize knowledge, and if you transmit knowledge to a book, it's not authentic. So even at that level, thousands of years ago, people had issues about synthetic knowledge. That means knowledge that you adopt from somebody else and pretend to be yours. So AI is just making life that more complex. So the issue is, how do you survive AI and education in the AI world? You must understand that the school system itself is very transactional. When I mean by transactional is, I give you the swalan, you give me the jawapan. If you focus on education from that way, because you have so many people who are still doing their pre-university studies, if you seem to be educated in this transactional manner, true education is not taking place. True education is when you are able to digest knowledge and synthesize and reproduce or re-evaluate knowledge in a very meaningful way. So sometimes learning, at least from a learning, because we talked about this after the panel before us talked about productivity. So AI is used to generate products and services or data, improve analyzing data. In education, it's not that way because you can produce synthetic assignment, but doesn't mean you understand the assignment. Doesn't mean it empowers you. So learning in an AI world requires more conscientious effort on your part. Obviously, technology is going to come in handy. It's going to come in where you can brainstorm with yourself rather than having a group study and inviting 5 clever people and asking them, hey, what do you think about this? You can now go to AI and say, I have 3 ideas. Can you give me 2 more ideas that will fulfill this conversation? And then suddenly, whether you're whatever brand of AI you use will churn in some suggested ideas. But the true learning is you making sense of it. So that is the part that you need to be aware that this illusion that AI is going to make you smarter is not the same illusion as AI is going to make you more productive. Making you more productive, yes, it's going to produce better written documents, it's going to produce better presented data, it's going to produce, but that is not you. How do you find yourself in this midst of chaos? That is where the true learning comes. And I will come back subsequently.
Thank you, Dr. Logan. Next, Datuk, Wira, Shahul. So, what are the challenges that you have faced when it comes to talent? And how do you expect the present generation to think about sunset and sunrise industries? Do you have appropriate training skills for them? And how do you go about doing it? Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. Thank you to Youth Economy Forum for having us here. Managing talent is pretty complicated these days, Tan Sri Moderator, you know, because the pattern of learning has changed drastically. Post-COVID, the dynamics of learning pattern, the dynamics of job market has changed drastically. Simply, if you go back to 10, 15 years ago, you pick up a graduate and you ask the graduate, or if you pick up a school kid, ask him what do you want to do, you say, I want to go for a 3 years degree program, a 4 years engineering program, a professional doctors, so on and so forth. But you pick up a kid today and ask him from the school, what do you want to do? A kid coming out of the school, you ask him, what are you keen in doing it? He say you wanted to go on courses that is very specialized, focused, and they are no longer keen into going into a 3-year degree program or a 4-year program. So these days, the talent development is quite fast. At the same time, they're out of the subject matter quite fast as well because of the changing pace in the technology and the revolving changes in the industry. So in HRD Corp, our primary job is to take care of human capital development. Though we have trained 20 million people in the last 30 over years, we have 95,000 employers, we are still having challenges understanding the real expectation of the talent market among the youths. Simply, I can tell you, we train, in the last year, we started National Training Week, and this year we continue to do. From compared to last year, we have trained almost 30-40% higher. We train almost 75,000 people in the National Training Weeks in the whole nation. But if you look back into the content that the youths are adopting from the National Training Week, it is not something which we can be really proud of because they prefer to go for an easy way of acquiring talent. And the most saddest thing, people with a good knowledge, people with a high talent, they choose to go for a career which is of very simple. You know, a lot of them wanted to choose to go for a gig economy. I mean, I don't really understand what is gig economy, honestly. You know, when everybody talk about gig economy, we have panel, Mr. Chandran and Doctor, who would touch on those in a very greater length. But we can't be producing talent just to go after become, Grab drivers or, all those food panda and all these things. Those things are applicable during the time of crisis. When we had COVID, you don't have alternative jobs. Your job market is in a very big trouble. You go for alternative options like gig economy. When the job market is back, economy is growing well, you got to go back to your professional. And this is something which in the ministry's perspective, Ministry of Human Resources, HRD Corp, my other agencies, we all have trouble because people prefer to go for informal market, job market. This creates it has two divides. One, those days we have unemployed graduate. When you are unemployed graduate, you can train them, upskill them, cross-skill them, you can put back into the job market. But today you have unemployable graduate. This is a serious trouble for us. When you become unemployable, no industry wanted to accept you. Why you become unemployable? Because you have stopped learning. Today's job market, today's world, you should continue to be a learner. You can't be a learned society, you must be a learning society. And as a graduate or you're coming out of the university, if you're a gold medalist in a university, that's it, you're there. After that, you still have to continue to be there in the challenging world. So the ministry like us, we have difficulty managing informal workers. When you have informal workers, they don't upskill themselves. They lose benefits. Social protection is not there. So this is where the talent gap becomes wider. And they are comfortable with what we have. What you are comfortable with today is no longer applicable for tomorrow. So this is one of just a small gist of the challenge, Tan Sri, Moderator.
Thank you very much, Datuk Wira Shahul. And Chandran, how do you relate talent and creative destruction with regard to Schumpeter's concept? And the ecosystem itself, could you please explain what it's all about? Everybody been talking about ecosystem. What ecosystem is it exactly that we are trying to focus on or we are trying to explain? Over to you.
Okay, I'm going to stand up. As like respect to the young people. So the people at the back, can you hear me? If you got your mobile phone, can you put it away? Because if you put it away, you might actually learn something. Okay? So first thing is put your phones away if you want to be talented. You might learn something. So I will not talk about AI and all of those popular things today. I will talk about BI. Anyone know what BI is? It's called basic intelligence. And I want to talk about CI. Anyone know what CI is? It's called common intelligence. Okay, so put your phones away, and I just want to make 5 quick points about talent. So this whole thing is about talent and ecosystems. What is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is essentially a thriving community. Typically, you'd make the analogy with the forest. The thriving forest is essentially the essential component is essentially the soil. The pillars are the trees. If you don't have those two things, you're dead. Any science students here? Because scientists are now rare, okay? I heard they had a green technology session to open this, but there were no scientists on it. Very interesting. All right, so the first thing is we want to talk about ecosystems. So I'll say that if you want to talk about talent and ecosystems, the foundations of the ecosystem for talent in Malaysia should be schools and primary schools. The primary school system in Malaysia, as a Malaysian, is broken, particularly in the rural areas, because there's no proper channel for developing primary school teachers. Go to other countries, you don't have to go far, go to Singapore and see the difference. So if you don't fix the primary school, it's over. And that's why we can't build talent. So we have a lot of Bodo Sombong in the universities and all. So that's the first point, all right? First point. The primary school teacher should be the most highly paid person. They should have ministerial salaries. Just take down the ministers' salaries and pay them, because the ministers all have other revenue earning approaches. We all know that. So pay the primary school teachers properly. First thing. Second thing is, if you want to talk about a talent ecosystem, that ecosystem has to be agnostic to racism. Our Malaysian education system is racist, okay? First thing. Now, so it's racist, and then most of you are thinking, there's this Indian guy now talking about racism, and therefore he's saying the Malays and all. No, no, no. The racism, essentially, the largest sector of the student community who suffer from the racism is the poor Malay kid. But you all don't think this. Because the elite political class, who are the elite Malay politicians, have used race and religion to essentially disenfranchise the poor Malays and then create a completely racist system, which is discriminatory. So we all suffer. So if you want to talk about talent, you get rid of racism in the education system. No education minister has had the guts to do this. Second. Third thing is, so you see, when you put your phones down, you can clap. Clap. Third point is simply this: you need strong institutions. We have weak institutions in the country. Go to Putrajaya. Weak institutions. Weak institutions create 1 MDB, all of this. I say this as a Malaysian, not because I want to be critical, because all this thing about the reborn, the new economy and all of that, if you have the same old systems, you're dead, basically. And, you know, I think you're working to improve HRDF. Scandals after scandals. But you're going to fix it, Datuk, yeah? Yeah. So he's going to fix HRDF. So we need people who can fix the mediocrity, the lack of competence, and the corruption that is embedded in our institutions. Third point, why do you need talent? Please, don't confuse talent with technology and all of that. Most of us think, hey, talent, oh, you're going to have more software engineers, more AI, this, and no. You need talent so that they contribute to society. You need people who can think, not people who are just robots, who are going to serve the industry. You have an education system to build talent, not to serve companies only. They serve society, and that's the most important thing. So build talent around serving people with society. My last point is this. To serve society, you need an education system that allows people to learn values. 40 years of incompetence, bad management, corruption, institutionalized racism, etc., has created a system in which we all have very poor values. We're all racist to some degree. We all turned a blind eye. We all knew 1 MDB was going on. Nothing happens. We know politicians steal. No one goes to jail. Now we have a new thing that says you don't need to go to jail. You can go to house arrest. You all heard this new thing? Yeah? So this is what happens in our country. And who is the problem here? You guys are all silent. The youth of the country need to speak up. And that's also part of the talent ecosystem. So my last point is you need values. Before you teach people how to program and become an AI, this and that, you need values. And I know my brother Muhammed is going to talk about this. A fine point. I heard before this session people talking about AI and this and your point. I mean, the gig economy is not for you. The gig economy is ripping off people and young people. Don't be a Grab driver. Don't work for some digital thing that essentially makes you the new slave. So the digital economy and all the Silicon Valley nonsense is the new enslavement of the best people in the world. We have to think differently. So my point is, talent is rooted in critical thinking. Question everything. Every time some Dato and Tan Sri says you something, challenge them because they're probably wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandran. That's a fiery one. Okay, next to Dr. Khalid. Could you relate talent and the economic perspective of our nation?
Thank you, Professor. Let me try to be as honest and as frank as possible in order to be useful to you this Saturday afternoon. Talent and economy, the way we producing our human capital, the economy will not survive. I'm not trying to scare you, but we are not doing well. I'll tell you why I say this. You take the recent this year SPM result. 380,000 kids took the exam. 90,000 failed mathematics. 190,000 D and E. 75% D, E, F. Only 1 in 4 know basic mathematics. English, 42% D, E, and F. This is basic maths and English. 10,000 did not show up. Why is this happening? It's year after year. Then we said, oh, maybe the system. We always talk about the system. It's not the system. We're not taking care. Gandhi said, you want to know the progress of a nation, economy, the progress of a nation? Only one indicator. Look how the most vulnerable are doing. And the most vulnerable in Malaysia is the children. Malaysian children are not doing well at all. I always say national crisis. 1 in 5 of Malaysian kids are too short. 1 in 5. This is 2022. 1997, the number of Malaysian kids who are stunted, 1 in 5. The country much richer. In Thailand, it's half than that. In Japan, 7%. Then we wonder why our kids are not doing well. So a small group would do well. And this small group would only do what is best for them, ignoring the rest. And even this small group that we have, the elite and so on, they have moral issues. 1MDB, Chandran mentioned about 1MDB. Are we surprised? We're not surprised. Najib, yes, Najib in jail. Now probably home arrest. If it's home arrest, everybody should go on the street. So I hope it's not seditious. It's not just him. Who approved the loan? Professionals, bankers, lawyers, auditors. They all went to top universities. The CEO of 1NUB went to, the board member went to Harvard. The first CEO went to Stanford. We do not produce quality human being. We creating or we promoting those with no moral values to be our leaders. 2 examples. We have wrong leaders that don't create good policies. And we are conforming to them, cium tangan. Last week, this is relevant not here. Last week, one board member was appointed to Matrade. You know the story? 2 years working experience. Why was she appointed? She's Najib's daughter. 2 years, even she's Najib's daughter, it doesn't matter. If she's qualified, then it's okay. 2 years working experience. We also have a leader of a country who's supposed to be in jail, 47 cases. He went to court with a police rider. He should be on Grab. Take Grab, go there. But what do we do? What do you guys do? We would not do well for the economy, for society, as long as we condone corruption. We have feudal mindset. We are corrupt. When the forefathers were designing Rukun Negara, 5, right? It's supposed to be 6. Syed Hussein Alatas, one of the writer of Rukun Negara, he said, put one more. You know what's that? Number 6? Corruption. Eradication of corruption. Had we put that, perhaps we do better. So to do well, to produce good human capital for the economy and for society, we cannot be feudal. And the way not to be feudal, do not sembah anyone. Do not accept probably Tan Sri. Do not call anybody Tan Sri or Datuk. And stop inviting or paying too much respect to politicians or ministers. The last maybe I stop with this. Like this forum, the last speaker, no disrespect to him, why you invite politicians and ministers? Get somebody who inspires you. Get a great sportsman. If I were you, I invite the Paralympics champion. Don't invite politicians, why? So to do well, it depends on all of us. One person probably not going to make a change. Everybody in this group is a powerful group. If you're not feudal, we have good moral values, then we do well.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. That's a very deep one. And back to Logan. Do you think that we need to change our education system and also our varsity education system? What do you think about it? Because one is that I realized when I was with KPT, Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi, we were trying to lure or entice the private sector to work with us, collaboration. But we had difficulty then. So do you think that it's only the government's job to take care of universities? And maybe your views on the other one is on, what do you call that? Synthetic assignments too.
Thanks, Tansri. The role of education is multifold. The challenge we have in Malaysia is we have a very disproportionate ratio of public to private universities. There are formerly used to be about 20, 30 strong public universities and hundreds of private universities. Some of the private universities, I've been in the industry for 25 years. Suddenly someone comes and shakes me and says, I'm from this university. I have never heard my whole life, and they exist. There are universities that have 40 students. There are universities with 10,000 students. So there's a broad spectrum. The challenge for us, Tansri, is the way MQA and policy setters see us in the single lens, that we all are expected to produce the same amount of, the same quality of work in the same method. So for example, one of the challenge we have for private universities is if all the different agencies were to rank us, they rank us using the same instrument. So we can't work to our strength. If, let's say, if I want to create an automotive industry university, I want to focus more on EV. The next question comes in, if during the accreditation, how do I then comply to all the other components that are my weakness? So instead of me working to my strength, I need to accommodate and pay a lot of attention to my weakness so that I can serve the policy the way it is crafted. The most important thing for higher education is to enlighten people. It's not to put you in a mold. Unfortunately, with more and more regulation, the more molded we become. So one of the challenges we face also is the construct of curriculum, since I spend a lot of time talking about that, is where does the curriculum start? Does the curriculum start where the student is or where the student needs to be? So that challenge is really bad. One of the metaphor that I use in my class or when I talk to people is the Broga Bangsa challenge. Because Broga is in Negeri Sembilan, Bangsa is, you know where it is. It is less than 1 hour journey, but they are worlds apart. So if I have to design something as what Chandran talked about, school system, if I have to design a school system, who do I design it for? For someone who's living in Bangsa or someone who's working and living in Broga? And then who do I pitch the curriculum? And how do we make, because we are very obsessed with symmetry. We want everything to be symmetrical. We want everything to be centralized. At the same time, the country is so broadly spectrumized or segmented. And the curriculum cannot serve the community from where you pinch from one community and try to transplant into another community. You are not serving either community. At the same time, the emphasis on learning. You need to know that the end of learning is not to know. Because most of us think, because we are so exam-centric, right? We learn to pass exams, and exams are superficial, where we just need to know something transactional, like how many colors does the rainbow have? You know, if you can remember 7, that's it. You have got all the marks you needed. Instead of you having a deeper, meaningful understanding that why does rainbow have 7 colors? Do you know actually there's no 7, it's 6. The 7th is a myth. You can figure this out later. But the point is, nature of learning is not to know. And unfortunately, we've been conditioned that the whole nation state is focused on learning to know and not learning to be. And moving forward, in order to become a better talent, you need to learn to be rather than just learn to know. And that is one of the reasons why you become unemployable. Before I pass the mic, I just had this joke, not to say this mind game I had yesterday with my colleague, because I knew today I was going to be here. So one of the questions that I was asked to consider was underemployment. So obviously, like any good scholar, we go to ChatGPT and say, give me 5 definitions of underemployment and give me 5 discussion points for underemployment. But I was not satisfied with whatever ChatGPT gave me. So I came up with a paradoxical thought experiment, and I asked about 15 professors and about 30 students. This is the twin paradox that physics people like to use. So there are a pair of twins born in Johor. They were very faithful. They went to Sukudai and UTM, and both studied mechanical engineering. One came to KL to work in a decent company, paying him 3,000 ringgit. And then the other went across the straits and worked as a garbage truck driver, earning 3,000 Sing dollars. And then on Raya, they're coming back home, and the mother has to decide who is underemployed. The person who earns 9,000 ringgit but drives the truck, or the one who earns 3,000 ringgit but works as an engineer, is something for you to ponder. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. For information, we have about 450 private universities and 20 IPTAs, public universities. Yeah. Okay, next to Datuk Wira, I think that you are really not in favor of gig economy. And you mentioned about, interestingly, you mentioned about unemployable graduates. So what would your advice be to the policymakers of our nation with regard to gig economy, and how do you go about, streamlining or how to say it, to make it stronger for our graduates in universities?
Thank you, Tan Sri. Before I want to get on to the question, I want to set the record very straight to my friend Chandran. There's no scandals in HRD Corp. There's a perception. It's not a reality. We live in the world of judgment. People see the headlines and judge that this is what happened in this institution. There's no scandals in HRD Corp. If somebody has an issue, come and talk to me. I'm responsible to answer that. All right, thank you. Based on the questions for Tan Sri, I'm not a person against gig economy. It is very pertinent that you must understand, why do you choose gig economy? And what do you want to achieve in gig economy? When I saw Dr. Muhammed was sharing about a couple of things about the policies and so on and so forth. Let's go back to the history. Never in the history that any policy has been favorable to us, or we never had the best policies, not only in Malaysia, any part of the world. So policies are driven by people. And some policies are good for some people, some are not good for some people. But who do you blame? Do you blame the policymakers? Of course you can blame them. They have little that they could do for you. But you have to blame yourself for your not being successful. You think all the kids in the world get the best policies? Best schools? Best education system? Best economy? Many people I know, I got my friends who work with me in the schools. They got the gold medalists in the university, schools, but they cannot even end up in a good job. So what do you get in the school, university is very different from the job market. That's what, as an organization like HRD Corp, we face troubles. We have the best, we can say reasonably good policies. Financially, we have been supporting the system. We have spent almost 15 billion in the last 30 years, training 20 million people. But is it enough? What is enough? But we are able to produce sizably good graduates coming out to the job market. It's just not because HRD Corp give the money or we have the good policies. It's self-effort. That is what we lack in today's, graduates are producing good talent. Last year, HRD Corp signed up. We launched e-Latte during the time of COVID because we want to contribute the best skills to the industry at a low cost or free cost. So when we identified doing it, there was a big issue that people are not ready to go for the online programs. People are ready for the blended learning. Thanks to COVID, if not for COVID, we would be very far behind. HRD Corp took 30 years to train 20 million people. Through e-Latte, we trained 1.7 million people in a span of 18 months. So the industry accepts online courses. The reason why I tell these online courses, we got 13 institutions who partner with HRD Corp in terms of doing out the high skills program. But is it all being taken up by the young graduates and the talent? Though we produce high-skill content, high-skill certification, of course they have low content as well, but it's individuals who has a priority to choose what they want to go for. That's right. So the people are moving, recently government is going to start a gig policy, gig commission, simply because we are not the only country having issues with the gig economy. The COVID has changed the entire dynamics of the workforce. Everywhere we go, people are opting towards freelancing, gig working. But the challenge is not about you're choosing gig workers. It is about you must understand what do you get going there. What kind of benefits you're losing. Social protection is lost. Benefits are lost. And you will not be able to have opportunity to upskill yourself unless you do yourself. These are multiple challenges. I always share this experience. My late father used to work for a company for 50 years. One company. In my career of 29 years, I had 3 careers, 3 different companies. But the future of work is going to be one person will be work for 3 to 5 companies. You can see the dynamics of work, the dynamics of changes in the workforce. So we must be able to adapt, just not only the policies, we must be cautious enough to choose what career is going to give us a future. Is gig economy? Are you an expert? Are you going to contribute to the kind of industry that with the knowledge? Then you go for gig economy, build yourself. But don't get to become just a Grab driver or a food panda delivery and to show that the amount of money, time you spend on the education will go to waste. This is where I'm against. I'm not totally against because I can't say we're against gig economy. That's where the world is moving towards. It is very important we move towards the area where the world is moving and set the right policies, right ecosystem, right support, financial support. Then you ensure that talents are being guided right. But the issue we have is that because we don't want people to go for a gig working where they don't find a future after some time. That's my take, Tansri.
Thank you very much, Datuk Wira. Interesting indeed. Chandran, what do you think a sustainable environment for talent work out in the context of Malaysia? And brain drain, what are the causes of brain drain?
There's so much to discuss here. I think we can beg to differ. That's what a panel is for.
Yeah.
I think to suggest that these people are essentially not trying, but the government's doing everything right, and therefore the problem is with you, is to conflate the issues. There are always individuals who could try better. I could. But if I enter a system that is essentially mediocre, not so good, and weak, and institutionally corrupt, well, I can never perform. And so if you got a country that is also accepts mediocrity, then you've got a problem. So I'll be very blunt. Malaysia accepts mediocrity. So you can do all the training you like, but the training done by whom? Bodo Sombong? How come we got so many universities that nobody has heard of? Who are these people? Are they qualified? I'm a biochemist by training. I'm a biochemical engineer. I know young people now wanting to do my biomedical, etc., sciences, etc. There is not a single Malaysian university that is world class. I put that on the record. Why? Because mediocrity. So people here think bioscience is essentially pipettes and doing a bit of lab work. That's not it. And then people graduate with degrees, so-called biomedical this, and they'll turn up working up in clinics doing some bioassays. That's not research and development. So the problem is we do not have depth. So coming from a science background, we're talking about the green economy. Well, the green economy is not some financiers and bankers talking about it. You need thousands of scientists. Where are they? Have we got any climate scientists here that are that schools that are world renowned for this? No. You go to Singapore, small place, they have. So I think we need to be very careful. You all need to work harder, whatever, and I can tell you about what you have to try. That's personal development. But if you work in a weak system and you're educated in a weak system, you don't know. So I think of all the 4 people here, I'm the employer. I've run a large consulting firm. I employ a lot of young people.
Chandran, 1 minute, please.
I didn't take as much time as him. Okay, that's all right. I know government people get better.
Realize the
okay,
time.
but the time's up. But the time's up. I hope it's not because I don't have a title. But anyway, I'll just say, yeah, you know, it's like this in Malaysia. If I was called a Datuk or Tan Sri, no one interrupt me. I could speak for 25 minutes now. No one interrupt me. But let me finish. So I'll come back to the elephant in the room in Malaysia. The brain drain is because our education system is institutionally racist. You got to fix this problem. And you cannot have a system where you have low grades given so that people can pass. This is a disservice to everybody. So that is the problem, but nobody wants to confront it. So who are the racists who say Malay kids are stupid? Not me. Who says Malay kids cannot compete with the Chinese and Indians? Not me. So then they say, no, the Malay kids cannot because they're not smart. That's racist. And it's the elite Malays who say that. So then they are said, you lower the mark for science, etc. So you don't have any good research and development, all of that, except maybe a few pockets in the private industry. And then what happens? The Indians and Chinese get fed up and say, I got 25 A's, which should be illegal, by the way. And then they all go to other countries, right? So how can someone get 10 A's and all of this nonsense? So the standards are low. But we in Malaysia always defensive. You criticize and everyone, you know, their fangs come out. No, we're good. No, we're not good enough. I'm telling you, I've worked in many parts of the world, maybe some of you have done, and I can tell you the average Malaysian, there are elites who are good, but the average, the quality of education is depth. The average Malaysian cannot compete with Singaporeans, Chinese, Indians, etc., because we live in our paradise here. Our paradise is low standards, mediocrity. So you want talent, you have to upskill everyone. You have to speak inconvenient truths like I'm speaking now, and then grade up. And you have to close half those 5,000 universities, is it? Yeah, it's like GLCs. We have 6,200, 2,000 GLCs. That's like 2,000, that's like 1,900 too many, right? So the universities too, who runs these things? Where's the standards? So where's the institutions? Where's the Ministry of Education? How can you have universities producing 200 PhDs in a year? Even Cambridge and Oxford don't do this. So who's sleeping at the wheel? All the mediocre people in the institutions. So you want the brain drain to stop? Get rid of the institutional racism, which is part of the institutional weakness and lack of people with competencies in key areas. I'm sorry, Malaysians hate to hear this, but this is our problem. And that's the only way to stop the brain drain. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you. And next, Dr. Khalid. What are your thoughts on the dearth of talent in Malaysia in STEM especially?
Can I ignore the question? I want to follow what Chandran said.
Okay, you are allowed to.
Okay, thank you. No, Chandran, I agree with Chandran. But the issue of brain drain also because we pay our workers too low. Even to increase minimum wage from 1,000 to 1,700 as announced in the budget, that's low. To calculate minimum wage, National Wage Council has a formula. It's publicly available. You calculate, you input the inflation rate, you input productivity, you get minimum wage. Minimum wage should be at least 2,100. We said no. I pay you 1,700. Then when workers don't want to work or complain, they say you're choosy. We're not choosy. Every morning, 200,000 Malaysians wake up so early to cross the causeway. 40% of them work in low skill or semi-skill, not high skill jobs, low skill jobs. But they were there because higher pay. We don't pay. That's the studies done. Why Malaysians leave? The first reason, one of the top 3 reasons is pay. Another reason is career progression. In Malaysia, you want to move all the way up, you don't need to be smart. I'll give you an example. You can be board member of Matrade, 2 years working experience. The signaling is wrong. What the signal we're sending? We shouldn't entertain. So to do well, again I have to stress, to do well, we have a role to play. Do not be feudal. If I have my way, I get rid of the title Tan Sri, I get rid of the title Datuk. Except Tan Sri, Tan Sri, of course. Even the title Tan Sri is new. It was created by Tengku Abdul Rahman. Because after independence, want to differentiate between state award and federal award, he created Tan Sri. It should be Tan Sri, but Zabba disagrees. Zabba said, just put Sri. No title. Then we do well. Then like what Chandran said, if I have a Tan Sri also, I would speak 1 hour, nobody would say anything. To do well, we cannot, I cannot stress, we cannot be feudal. We must be brave. We must speak out. And speak out not because we are angry or because we are unhappy with the government. It's our responsibility. You are elite group. In Islam, it's fardu kifayah. You must speak out. And you speak out regardless who's in front of you. And the hero that you choose must be the hero with good moral values, not with titles. Zabba translated the first English novel, the first book translated in Malaysia after independence by Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka. The first book was translated by Zabba. You know what's the title of that book? Anak Raja, Anak Papa. He translated Mark Twain, The Prince and the Pauper. What's the moral story of that book? Because Anak Raja, Anak Papa, the Prince and the pauper is the prince become the pauper become the prince in that book. What's the moral of the story? True nobility comes from within, not based on title, not based on lineage. So to do well, forget, because the next speaker is a Tengku. I want to say forget about the Tengkus, forget about Datuk Sri, forget about Tan Sri. You worship or you respect people that inspire us, that do well. Currently, we are not doing well. Our children are not doing well. When even adult, underpaid, low wages, we punish, we give. The recent budget, I get very irritated. Why we talk so much to make it difficult for people to get subsidies? That is Mahakaya. Mahakaya is not T15. In Baling, Mahakaya is 5,000 ringgit per month. Household. Is that Mahakaya? It's not Mahakaya. Then you're going to make it difficult for the poor to get subsidy. Okay, IC lah. Why you want to humiliate the poor? When you choose the right leader, things will do well. To choose the right leader, you need good moral values. And education does not equal to good moral values. Good moral values come from good upbringing, good system and principle that we respect and we want to pass to everyone. And to do that, we must stop thinking that human capital will create students to become a worker. No, you should serve society.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have enough time for Q&A? Who's taking charge of time? Do we have enough time for Q&A? Okay. Okay, discussion, Q&A session. Any questions from the floor?
Hello, right here. My name is Yusran. I'm from...
Where are you?
Here,
Yes,
on your
where?
right.
On my right, okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm a graduate from International Islamic University of Malaysia. And I agree to a certain degree when Datuk Shahul said that individuals and graduates should take their own initiatives. But I also agree with the statistics by World Bank that mention that there are 5 or 6 times more graduates than there are jobs offered in a year. So if we go by basic maths, there's a supply, but there's not enough demand. You give someone a lot of certifications, no matter, you give them MBAs, you give them all the necessary trainings you want, but how is it possible to them to get a job if there's no job available? It's basic maths, and this trend of the jobs not being enough to cater our graduates is actually a part of the system in which I agree with Mr. Chandran. You cannot blame the youths when the youths cannot find proper jobs when there's no proper jobs to be found. That's my opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Let me just repeat so at least I hear the question correct. So a brother is trying to tell that, there's lack of jobs and you continue to give certification. How do they could go and get the right jobs when you have not enough jobs? Honestly, I'm very puzzled in Malaysia when people come and tell me there's no jobs in Malaysia. That's a very wrong perception, or I'm not sure it's a reality. There are so many jobs out there in Malaysia. One of our sister agencies, Perkeso, we drive this My Future Jobs. Every week we have job openings, not into hundreds, thousands of job openings available. Just not one in Klang Valley. It is in northern region, southern region, east coast, everywhere you have job opportunities. So many companies are opening up jobs. Even in HRD Corp, my own organization, we have so many jobs opening, but there's no takers. I tell you the reality of jobs today. When you open up a job, you get 20 people register for the job. 15 people respond for the resume. 10 people attend the interview. 2 people come for the final interview. When we give them an offer, either they don't take up the offer or they just stay in the offer for a very short span of time. So the perception of no jobs in the market is not true. So that is something which I want to correct our brother.
I would like to correct you as well. I didn't say there is no jobs. I said there is very limited amount of jobs to cater for the graduates available or graduating in the year. And graduates would not want to become a branch manager at 99 Speed Mart getting 1,800 for their degrees.
Okay. So I could. No graduates will be able to become a branch manager when you come out of the university. As a graduate, if you choose to become a branch manager, maybe that you're not choosing the right career. We all as a graduate, we all come from there. This is where, certainly I will agree with some of our brothers here, the fundamental policies of education is very important. That's where you get into internship. The internship plays a very important role. Government has been pushing aggressively on the internship. When you are a graduate, you're doing the second year, third year in the university, you get on to the internships. From there, you can build up your career. We have done multiple programs on the internship. Talent Corp does a lot of programs on the internship. Of course, 1,700, 1,900 depends on the quality of jobs and quality of knowledge you expose or express to your employer. Certainly, 1,700 for a graduate, it is too little, you could say. But some of the employers, they feel that 1,700 might not be enough. They don't see the kind of value. This is the general perception I'm sharing with you. When in HRD Corp, we take graduates at 2,500 because we know we need to support the graduates. We need to give them opportunity to come in because we believe that high-value economy is very important for the nation. So certification, there's a lot of certification available.
Wira, we have
Okay.
complete. Your last sentence, please.
The certification, there's so many certifications available. It's just not in HRD Corp in Malaysia, we're doing certification. But what I'm telling, when you choose certification in line with the skills that is going to help you in the jobs. There are a lot of future skills that's going to come in. There are jobs that's going to be obsolete. So when you choose skills, choose right skill that will help you land in a good job. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Test,
Chandran. 2 minutes, Chandran.
I feel discriminated already because I don't have a doctorship, I don't have a doctorate. Okay, but I try and keep it quick. To the guy out there, please send me your CV. We got a job. Okay, first thing. I'm an employer. You speak well enough. I think we could employ you, but we need to do a writing test. No AI. Okay. So that no chat GPT and all that. But very quick point about the economy not having jobs. This is a worldwide phenomenon, etc. But that's why you have governments. You have to have, this is a big problem in China and the United States, but this is also because of technology displacing people. You have to understand why, earlier panel was speaking about, don't worry, there'll be jobs. Well, they're lying. The whole point of technology, digital technology, is to displace people to create economic productivity, right? So that's why all the upskilling and all that. But if you have certain skills, you will be employable. But one thing I would agree, is that the wages in Malaysia are too low, but there's a larger discussion. I don't have time. Maybe you can speak about it. There's no time. But one thing you have to do around the world, if you're a young person today, don't expect to essentially jump into the idle job day one. You will not. This is a different world now. But I'm happy to look at your CV. Anyone good here, we're happy to look at your CV. But you have to understand you have to start somewhere. And sometimes it's all right. I started cleaning toilets, although I had an engineering degree. So it's all right. You start somewhere, you learn, but you look like a guy we could employ. So send your CV over and we have a look. Okay, thank you.
Hello, thank you. Thank you to all the panelists. I told you before that it's going to be a Meletup session. Well,
Okay.
let's give a big hand to all of them. Okay, I think that's about it. Thank you very much, specialists, panelists.
Can I ask
What's
one
our
more-
next session?
Can I ask one more
I think
question?
we have finished with our Q&A because I was told that we have to wrap up.
Only one? Only one, please?
Where are you?
All right, maybe here.
Here is
Behind.
where?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So Assalamualaikum.
Okay,
warahmatullahi
last
wabarakatuh, and
question.
hi.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Arif, and I am from Harmony IUM, and I have a question for Dr. Muhammad. So, just recently, from all the explanations from all the panels, I heard that the problems is our ecosystem, since the primary school and so on, that leads to all things that are currently happening in our country. But I wanted to ask Dr. Muhammad one question. Of course, there are rules by government and so on, but for some student bodies or student organizations, how do we create an ecosystem or environment in university that we can attract highly talented students that would utilize their skills for the benefit of the community, be it whether the students or also the community outside, rather than just, using their talents to join some things or some events that will just contribute to their nice resume or CV. So that is my question to Dr. Muhammad. I would like to hear the answer. Thank you.
Dr. Khalid?
If I get your question right, how do you attract young talent? Maybe I rephrase your question. How do you make yourself better? Not just for the labor market. Be brave. You university student, you speak out. Issue of the budget, if you're not happy, you speak out, you organize forums, invite speakers, and you make it known. Write to newspaper, speak in radio to show or to explain your views. Youth, compare 1960s, 1970s, university students are very brutal. And compared to our young students now, we are not that brutal. You should be brutal. I'm not asking you to burn some buildings, but along that line, budget is perfect example. If you're not happy with the budget, you say it. If you're not happy with the subsidy, you say it. You see somebody being punished, even GISB issues. You're not happy with it, you say it. You're not happy with the involvement of certain politician, you say it. The appointment of matrate, you say it. You cannot be meek, you cannot be quiet. Do not see your education just for labor market. It's not. It's to be a better society, to improve society. I end with this, Ansri. I strongly suggest that you read a book by Professor Shahrudin Ma'ruf, The Concept of Hero in Malay Society. What he said, we produce so many graduates from, 400 universities. Majority of them are useless because they are underdeveloped elite. They came back or they graduated with nothing beneficial to society. You are an elite group, do something for the benefit of everybody else, not just for the labor market.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Doctor. Thank you
that's
for
the
answering
end
my
of our
question.
session, yeah? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So let's give a big hand to all of them here.
Right.
Fantastic people. Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much to our moderator and panelists for an engaging session on nurturing our talent. I'd like to reiterate what Dr. Muhammad Khalid just said. Do not burn buildings, but speak up and voice up when it comes to reforms and change. Now, if I could kindly ask the moderator and speakers to remain on stage to receive our token of appreciation and for a photo session. Let's invite Syed to give out the token of appreciation. First and foremost, we have Dr. Muhammad Abdul Khalid, Research Fellow at Institute of Malaysian and International Studies, IKMAS, UKM, and Fellow at Paris School of Economics. Mr. Chandran Nair, founder and CEO of the Global Institute for Tomorrow. Datuk Wira Shahul Dawood, Chief Executive of HRD Corp, also our learning partner. And Dr. Logendra Stanley, Ponniah, Head of School, School of Education, Taylor's University, also representing our education partner. Last but not least, we have our moderator, Professor Tan Sri Dr. Noorul Ainur Muhammed Noor, Chairman of UCYP University, Pahang. Thank you again to our panelists and moderator for such a meaningful session. Let's give them another big round of applause.